We're following breaking news out of Lebanon. Several strikes have been reported in the country's capital, Beirut, and the Israeli military says it struck Hezbollah's headquarters in a suburb of the city. Imtiaz Tyab, who is with us in Beirut. Imtiaz, what's the situation there?
Lindsay, we have an extremely alarming situation developing here in Beirut, particularly in the southern area of Dahia, which is a suburb which is often described as a Hezbollah stronghold. In the last half hour, there were several loud explosions there, and we've seen some of the images, and they're extraordinary, where you just see this black plume of smoke over, again, this densely populated area. Now, we have heard from the Israeli military who have confirmed that they have carried out strikes in this area. I'm going to read out some of this statement to you from the Israeli spokesman Hagari, where he said a short while ago the Israeli military conducted what they described as precise strikes on the central headquarters of Hezbollah. We also understand that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is in New York, who earlier was addressing the UN General Assembly, was seen being rushed out of the meeting looking, and the words being used were looking panicked. Now, all of this really just underscores just the extraordinary violence we've seen over the past week, which has seen the death toll here in Lebanon cross to over 700. Now, all of this as world leaders, including President Biden, are desperately trying to secure some sort of temporary ceasefire. There was some hope yesterday that a 21-day truce would be agreed, but that hasn't happened yet. Lindsay.
Imtiaz Tyab, we appreciate you on that breaking news. Now, the strike took place shortly after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended his country's actions in the Middle East in front of the UN General Assembly in New York. During his address, he stood by his decision to press on with his military efforts, and he also blamed Iran for the situation unfolding in the region and says his country will defend itself and continue to do so from all acts of aggression.
I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach, and that's true of the entire Middle East.
His remarks coincide with rising tensions in the region. Israel is pressing forward with its war against Hamas in Gaza, but it's also engaged on the country's northern border with Iranian-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. Both sides continue to exchange strikes, and the Israeli military is telling its troops to be prepared to begin a ground incursion in Lebanon. CBS News Intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis is outside the United Nations. Olivia, good to see you. What stood out to you among Netanyahu's remarks?
Sure, Lindsay. Well, as you just played there, the Prime Minister adopted the same fiery, unrepentant rhetoric that he's brought to previous UN speeches, but today really doubling down, defending Israel's interests and comportment, and vowing to defend against Iranian aggression, that of Iran directly and that of its proxies. But what was perhaps most striking about his speech were the elements that he omitted entirely. He made no mention of the devastating civilian toll that Israeli forces have wrought in Gaza thus far, more than 41,000 people killed in that conflict, and a climbing death toll also in Lebanon, as you heard from Imtiaz, already in the hundreds. He also made calls for normalization with Saudi Arabia that he said he would do everything in his power to lead to, but made no mention of the fact that the single biggest obstacle is his refusal to consider a two-state solution, which both the Saudis and the U.S. government have insisted on. And most importantly, no mention of the Israeli government's willingness to sign on to a 21-day ceasefire proposal led by the U.S. and a coalition of other countries put on the table this week, with assurances from U.S. officials that they had been done in close consultation with the Israeli and Lebanese governments. No indication from the Prime Minister today that he's going to entertain that proposal. And in fact, as you're hearing, massive escalatory strikes taking place now in the middle of Beirut.
I want to go back to that in a second, but how is the Israeli Prime Minister being received?
Sure. I mean, he received a scattering of applause from his own delegation and others in the room, but plenty of delegates also stood up and left as he began his remarks. There's no question that he's come under withering criticism for, again, that civilian toll, the suspected international humanitarian law violations that his forces are accused of committing, and of course for being an obstacle and not a facilitator to the various peace plans and proposals that negotiators have been working on in the region for months.
So what sort of efforts are underway right now to push the two sides to come to a deal?
Sure. Most recently, there was this 21-day ceasefire proposal between Lebanese Hezbollah and Israel. It would involve the Lebanese government and the Israeli government. U.S. officials had spent the entire week building a coalition of more than 10 countries to build international pressure on both parties in order to sign on to that proposal, giving assurances to reporters that they had been done, again, in close consultation. But the Prime Minister almost immediately pouring cold water on that, saying that the Israeli government, Israeli forces intended to go after Hezbollah targets hard, and only last night releasing a statement saying that he shared the aim of the U.S. proposal and appreciated the U.S. efforts, but again, making no firm commitments to sign on to that ceasefire proposal at this stage.
Olivia Gazis, thank you.
Thank you.